This is our house in Cloonboo, Corrandulla, as it looked in 1980. Due a thatch, and under plastic in front of the house is the wheat and straw, which was used to thatch the house. It had 3 full thatches up to 2020, and in May 2020 the Dutch thatcher Marika Leen came to thatch this house using reeds. How did you begin thatching?
I came over from Holland when I was 15, and I met these 3 bachelor brothers, and one of them used to be the thatcher, sort of more like the way it used to be. He did his own house and maybe some of the neighbours' houses. It wasn't his main job now, thatching, because he had injured his foot in the forestry because he was also working in the forestry. So he asked me, or he gave me instructions to go up on the roof and do his work for him. And he instructed me from the ground. So that's how I got into it first. But way back that was only straw, or oaten straw and sometimes wheaten straw. So it was him really, Tom, that got me into thatching and showing me how to, or where to find scallops and how to point them and how to use them. Because he wasn't by any means a very good thatcher. So after that then, years later, I got married to a thatcher.
Coincidence?
Trained reed thatcher.
Okay.
So then I was his sidekick for many years, and that's how I learned more about reed thatching. And then when he decided to give up on the thatching, I didn't want to give up on the thatching, so I took a year out and I did an apprenticeship. So 3 different ways really. Being interested in thatching and sticking with it.
Yeah. And you're using reed here in this house?
This is all reed, yeah.
All
even
reed.
though it should be wheaten straw.
Oh, right. Would you prefer to use wheat and straw?
I would have preferred it, yeah.
You would. And is that because you prefer working with wheat and straw, or because it was the original type of material?
I think because it was always on this roof, and I think by rights it should be the traditional material. Because it's so hard to get it now, there isn't much of an alternative. And also it's nice, it's nice to work in straw and not do everything in reed, I think.
Yeah. In Holland, which is where you came from originally, and where your husband, he learned to thatch in Holland, is that
He
right?
did, yeah, he was trained in Holland.
What material is used there?
It's only reed.
Only reed?
Yeah.
And is that
in the east of Holland they used to use rye one time, but now only very seldom. Only on maybe a few monuments or...
And in Ireland, when I was young, there would have been more thatched houses, but then people started to get a bit more money and got rid of thatched houses to an extent that I don't know how you feel about it, but it seemed to me like maybe it was a sign of poverty.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely, it's a, yeah.
Sure, thatching was always associated with poorer people. As soon as people had money, they put slates on the roof, didn't they?
Yeah.
But also it was very time consuming. So
is it the same in Holland? Is thatching?
No, I think that transition has happened a long time ago already, that thatch is more associated with wealth and status, not so much with poverty.
Ah, right, okay. I've seen the thatches in Holland, and it looked to me like a roof would be half thatch and half slates or tiles.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
That used to be farmhouses, and because only say a quarter of the house was used for people, and then 3/4 of the house was used for cattle, or the sheds and the barn were in the house. All the fumes and the gases of the manure went out through the thatch. So it was a natural ventilation.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's all right. No, I didn't.
No, that's really true.
Oh, right. No, I hear you. Yeah. Wow.
Because, you know, you'd have a build-up of
Yeah.
methane if you have cattle in, or that many cattle, because they were like milking dairy cows. So they used them to be in the house in the summertime, but in the wintertime there were stables in the house.
Yes.
In certain parts, I'm sure not all.
Yeah.
All of Holland.
And that was very practical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And the house was always warm,
Yeah.
either from thatch or from warm cattle.
Yeah. Do you do people remark on the fact that you're a woman as a thatcher? Is that something that?
No, some do, but not too much. No,
Yeah.
no, don't get too many.
Yeah.
Maybe they think it to themselves, but
And do you see any reason why a young woman who likes the outdoor life wouldn't do thatching?
oh,
or
no,
would?
absolutely. No, I have a young woman now that wants to train with me for a few
good.
days anyway and see how she likes it.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a great career choice, but you have to be ready for the climate.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that the main disadvantage?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think so. Other than that, it's not very hard to do.
Mm.
There's no real mystery to it. It's easy to pick up.
Mm.
So,
Okay, but a lot of experience and a lot of skill as far as I can
not
see.
necessarily. I mean, anybody can really pick it up, I think.
Yeah.
I don't really
But I think we can agree, Marika, that you're a perfectionist about it. So you do it very well when you're doing it.
Well, I don't know. I'm not without flaw, but I'm trying to do my best.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep improving, but
Yeah.
I suppose
yeah.
the speed side could be improved still.
Yeah. I'm not complaining. You're doing a fabulous job on this house. Thank you. What do you call that?
I suppose I
The
would
middle.
call it sway. Traditionally, that used to be a scallop or just a rod.
A rod, yeah.
But it's a mild steel rod now.
So you hold the rod in place with the scallops.
With the scallops. Twist them like hairpins. They have to go in sort of this way, because if you put them down like that, you have more grip.
Yeah.
But if you have any leak at all, the scallop will guide it into the roof.
So the scallops have to be. Do they have to be fresh, or can they be cut for a while?
These are fairly fresh. I cut them about 6 weeks ago,
All right.
but I only split them and pointed them last week. But now with the dry, the wind and the sun, they're really dry. That's why I had to steep them, otherwise you won't twist them.
Mm.
It's hard enough on the hands, so you get a brown line in your hands from twisting hard skin.
When you're on this layer now, do you use those other little fixing wires that?
No,
You don't.
no.
You don't.
No, sometimes I put them in between, but always the first two courses, the eaves course, I double fix.
Mm-hmm. With the what did you call it? The potato bag twisting device.
Yeah, or just two courses or two rods with scallops. So
What do you call the wooden? Is it a mallet?
that's a mallet.
Mallet. Okay.
The homemade leg of a table.
And the prong devices that are holding the
The crooks.
The crooks. Oh, they're the crooks.
Yeah, they're all homemade out of mild steel and welded up bits of steel. Yeah, that's really handy. You can make all those tools yourself. So, what I first do is I cut the top bit of the twine. There's 2 layers of twine on it. And that will bring this down a little bit. Try to do too much in one go, it will just slip down on you. Hold it down with the arm. Cut the twine, and then I go through it with my fingers like this to take all the weeds and the leaves out of it.
Does that help to even it up as well when you're jiggling it like that? Does that help to even it up?
Yeah, it's sort of, you know, all the short bits and the leaves come out of it. But also you want to try to achieve that it's laying the way you want it to be, or you want it to go. And just by doing that, it will sort of fall into place. And dress it up a bit by hand. Well, I mean,
with the
dressing
legget.
it up with the legget.
With the legget, yeah.
See, that's what I call dressing. This process.
That's what you're doing now.
If I have really crooked reeds like this, you will sometimes, well, this isn't say like that.
Yeah.
That's what they call dog legs, and it can be quite a bit worse than this, and it opens out the reed when you're trying to have it laying nicely. So sometimes I straighten it out by taking the
Oh, break the bit off, yeah.
So if you have a lot of crooked reeds, that's very time consuming.
So I presume if you got a lot of crooked reeds from a supplier, you'd want to tell them.
You'd really want to be there to check it beforehand and to see, are they loading up what you actually
Okay,
need.
yeah.
And even then you can't really see it because it's bundled so tight like this, and it looks straight, but the minute you open it up, it can be all... Now I can see it a little bit, I can determine it a little bit. It's hard enough to see it properly.
This is an old scallop. I'm just filming a little old scallop that survived from the previous.
Still going strong.
When the wheat thatch started to shrink, there had been wire holdings. Were they instead of scallops? They started to fall out then, they were all over the
They were
garden.
the bits probably holding the chicken wire on top.
Ah, that was what it was, yeah.
Yeah. You can't really use the wire as a fixing, it doesn't really work.
Right.
I can show you a plastic scallop they invented in the 80s, I think. Trying to do away with normal scallops in England. I had them. I actually took them out of a roof in Athenry where I was walking last week. It's here. It's a disaster. Because they're really short and there's no grip in it. Will I get it down?
No, we'll do that later.
Next time. They're only that length, and then it's a sort of a serrated edge. It's like a hair clip in plastic. It's horrible. But I was at a roof in Menlo, and there was a man there, and he said it was thatched with the plastic scallops. And one day he came home, a few weeks after it was rethatched, fully rethatched, and all the thatch was down on the ground in front of the house.
Oh,
Because it
God.
just couldn't hold the weight of the
Wow.
wreath. And for that reason, I usually have the scallops quite long.
Yeah.
Because if you have them too short, you know, it's just too heavy.
They're long and quite thick also.
Well, some of them are actually a bit too thick.
Right.
Normally, because they were awkward to split.
Yeah.
Because, I often shape them on the roof. That's more like the way they should be.
Right.
That thing.
Yeah.
But often enough it's good when you have a few thicker bits, because then you get the grip again in the roof. But the bit in the middle shouldn't be that thick. So that's what I often do, is just reshape it a little bit while I'm on the roof.
Pare the bit in the middle for pare it down a bit.
So nearly there.
How many courses do you think you've done? How many courses do you think you've done?
You can count them.
From the holdings, is it? How would you count them?
So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is my 11th.
Your 11th, right?
So another
Okay.
3 and then a double one. And then you get the comb or the bridge on top.
And do you always do your course, each course the same width, the same number of bundles?
I do, because it's very, the technical bits that in order to have the minimum of 5 inches over your fixing, you'd have to adhere to a certain standard.
Yes.
That's how it looks. And to bring it out at that thickness, but also to have that space over the fixing, because this is the wearing layer. By the time you see this, the roof is actually worn out, it's gone.
Yes.
When the fixings are exposed. But say if you were to do it too thinly, you would have only half the lifespan.
Right.
But equally, if you do it too thickly, they're actually lying too horizontal, and that will wear it quicker too. That's why you need the pitch.
You need a certain slope, of pitch.
So say if a roof was only 35 degrees, you'd probably lower the lifespan by half, because the runoff isn't as good.
Well,
In my own way now. Yeah, so you use about 10 bundles per square meter. So that's the same for every roof when you're doing a whole new retouching. This is actually really sore to do without gloves because the splinters.
I can see it's a skill and a technique to stop them from slipping down even.
Huh?
I could see, it can slip a little bit. I could see it's a skill to know how to hold them.
But yet it's that simple.
Yeah.
Really simple.
Yeah.
Anybody can do it.
Well, anybody that knows how to do it.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, you pick it up in a few days. If you do an apprenticeship, you're put to do the thatch nearly straight away, and within a week you know the basics, and you can make it look okay. So. These yellow bits, they're actually really soft. You take them out too.
Oh, you can see from the colour?
Yeah, I don't know why it is like that. For some reason, if they're that yellow, they're never any good.
Oh, lovely. So they're just not long enough. That's what you mean when you say they're never any good.
No, they're too soft.
Too
They're
soft?
they're nearly like straw or grass. They are actually hollow, but... Or maybe I'm just biased. Maybe you could leave them in.
Maybe you're just a perfectionist.
You're not happy with it, you can pull it out and do it. So, nearly completed. That you can make in different thicknesses
Okay.
and lengths.
And do you do a ridge roll of the same size on the other side then?
Well, usually you have two smaller ones and then one in, or two bigger ones and a smaller one in the middle, just to have the pointy pitch of the roof.
Okay.
So, yeah. So on the other side, I'm going to make a smaller one that's going to lie under this one again.
All right. Okay. So when you're doing this section here where you have to put them in at a slant, do you have to select particular kinds of reeds or bundle or?
Yeah, you have to try and find bundles of reed that are more tapered. Otherwise, you have a big build-up of material, say, around there.
Yes.
Because it's sort of coming together into a point. So for that reason, if you have more tapered reed, it will work better. Otherwise, you'll have a big hump
Yes.
at some point.
Yeah. Quite tricky.
Yeah. And the idea that you do this is that it throws the water out over the cable length, rather than if it was just going straight down, you'd have water going in between the cable length and the. I discovered that there's actually bog grass under the thatch that John Joe Duchan put on 20 years ago, and I believe it's a lot older than that. It's probably even before from before when you bought a house, or maybe 50 years ago or something like that. So you can see that's the bog grass. It's all deteriorated, and then you see the remains of the scallops, and the scallops are actually remarkably good condition, because once they're in the roof and not exposed to the sunlight or oxygen, they keep really well.
Okay.
And there's a sort of a makeshift repair job that somebody did that got fed up with the gully under the chimney. I don't know how old that is, maybe it isn't that old, but it would have been at least, I'd say, before John Joe put it on. So yeah, and then what's happening here and why it was leaking was that all this wheaten straw had probably still had a lot of grain in the what do you call that bit?
The grain in the straw?
In the straw. So the mice have eaten through it, and in the process half the thatch. So it wasn't properly overlapping. The courses weren't properly overlapping anymore, because there was courses of only eaten heads of the straw in it, which I've already taken away. So it was going in, the rain that is supposed to run off was going in behind it, where it was chewed away, and then formed gullies like here. And then was getting into the older layers of the thatch.
Okay.
Yeah. Find out whether she's going to put a ritual on it or not.
Yeah.
Which I should have done before I did this. But sometimes you don't know until you're a bit farther into it. This is quite awkward.
Yeah. Looks like hard work.
And I need
Can
my mallet for it. There's so much tension on these reeds.
There's already, is there two ridge rolls in there already?
3 or 4 already there.
Oh, 3 or 4 already. So there is quite a tension on it. It's lifted up.
Because it was gone quite flat. Now I can put them on top of this, but then if I wanted to dress it up later, the ritual would stop it. So it's better off to try and get it under.
Marika pays great attention to detail, and one of the things she does beautifully is the comb. She uses horizontal bamboo rods, and the diamond shape is made with hazel scallops pinned into the roof with hazel scallops. On the last day of August 2020, Marika finished the thatching job, and we're left with a beautiful golden roof which will keep us warm and cosy for many years to come.